Well, Property Tribes is delighted to welcome you along to another themed week. It is Discovering Deals Week, and it was proposed and is being powered by our training partner, John Howard. And who better to talk and discuss deal finding than John, who's been in the property sector for over 40 years. And John, it's so lovely actually to be talking to you in person. This is our first kind of location shoot post-COVID. And I think it's quite relevant to the topic of kind of discovering deals, because property, as we know, is a people business. And yes, you can have Zoom meetings, but really a big part of finding deals, as we'll discover throughout this week, is nurturing those relationships.
Absolutely, Vanessa, and thank you for your kind words. No pressure for the rest of this week, is there, for me. What I would say is that it's all about meeting people, having coffees, talking to people. My wife rings me up and says, she hears a clink in the background and goes, "You're not having coffee again with someone?" I go, "Yes, but it's my job." And it's so important to network and to discover new people. You know, I try and find one new person a day I can do business with.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to cover a lot of ground over the next 5 days. John is joining me every day. We've got a different topic every day to kind of deep dive into. And John, I think this week really came about because with your mentoring students and your training days, the biggest question you've been asked in recent times is how do you find deals?
Absolutely. Everybody wants to find deals. I want to find deals. So, I mean, everybody wants to find deals, and it's not easy. You know, I might get offered 100 deals. I might do one of them, two of them. And I can show people how to stop wasting all that time in driving to these locations, looking at them. There's so much you can do from your desk now. You don't need to be running around the country like I used to 30, 40 years ago, doing 800 miles a day. Crazy when I look back now. 80,000 miles a year. You know, you can be much smarter than that. You know, learn from my mistakes. Learn from me dashing around all over the country and not doing enough deals at times. You know, you just be smart about it.
Well, that's what I love talking to you, John, because your kind of 40 years hindsight can be our foresight. We can learn so much from you. I think it's interesting, John. As I mentioned, this is our first location shoot post-COVID. We're in a post-COVID world. It's very, very different. Pre-COVID, I've coined the saying, BC, before COVID, and AC, after COVID. I'm just wondering, has your kind of deal finding strategies changed as a result of the lockdown and all the subsequent kind of fallout that we're going to experience from that?
I think you do have to be flexible and move with the times, you know, or really be ahead of the times. So I've been converting commercial to residential for many, many years, offices to residential, probably for the last 30 odd years. Now, people cotton on to it, and then you sometimes move on to something else they haven't cottoned on to. So there's a bit of an angle there for 2 or 3 years, 4 or 5 years before everyone else starts to do it, because everyone tends to copy. And it's like these PD, which we'll talk about later. But I mean, PD, everyone's obsessed with PD, you know, permissive development. And probably rightly so, because it's a lot easier. So people who aren't that experienced at developing, you know, it's not a bad way of starting, because it's a lot simpler than perhaps some of the other conversions that I have to do.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned PD, because obviously part of the government's kind of post-COVID-19 response was to kind of relax the PD rules. We do have a thread on this topic on Property Tribes, which we can link to below the video. But over this kind of week, John, we're going to be kind of doing a deep dive on each of your kind of different strategies for finding deals. And obviously these are tried and tested by you over the last 40 years.
Yes, and it's a good thing I'm the age I am. Otherwise, I wouldn't be telling everyone all these things, would I? Because my wife said, "Why are you telling everyone these?" I said, "Because at the end of the day, you know, you can spread some goodwill, and also, you know, these are people I hope to deal with as well. You know, a lot of people come to my seminars. You know, afterwards we keep in contact, and they ask me questions and got challenges, and we answer them, and hopefully might do business together."
Absolutely. Well, we're actually sitting in one of your biggest and most successful deals. We're at the Wine Rack in Ipswich, which is on Ipswich waterfront. We're in the show flat. How did this deal come to you, John?
Goodness me. Well, years and years ago, I used to buy tower blocks and refurbish them and sell them to first-time buyers and individually. And we used to go around the country buying them off local authorities. In those days, they were all going to be blown up. So rather than blow them up, we'd give them some money, which saved them probably £500,000, because even those days, £500,000 to blow a block up. So I had done quite a lot of tower blocks, and then the developer on this one went bust in 2008, and I kept looking at it and looking at it and looking at it, and it got to about 2014-15 when the market returned and things had got a lot better, because property is all about timing. I made more money during and coming out of a property recession than any other time. And that's where we're going to end up again, I think, now. And that's why it's so vital people get some knowledge from it, some experience and advice from people who are experienced and been through that process. You know, I've been through that process 3 times. So I've been through 3 large property recessions and come out the other side. So I waited and waited and waited. I had to convince my business partner, who's going to retire this year. I think I finally retired him off. This deal has retired him off.
End on a high.
End on a high, literally a high, 19 stories high. I explained, you know, that I wanted to do it, and he's been super supportive over the years to me, and we decided we would try and buy it, which we managed to do. Again, it's all about contacts. And then the funding came via the government, more contacts. I pulled together a really solid, great team to develop it for us. And again, contacts again, really. So that all the way through, you know, you're building your contacts up over the years and your relationships with people in order to work together and use each other to everyone's benefit. And that's how it works.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting, you know, one of the recurring themes that we'll be talking about throughout this week is the importance of your network. And, you know, we can actually subdivide that into your offline network and your online network, which is a relatively new thing for you, probably the last 5 or 10 years of your...
The last 2 years. I'm a dinosaur. So I've only just realised that all these people are out there wanting help or wanting to do deals and joint ventures. And we'll talk about my new joint venture project later, I'm sure. So, you know, it's very exciting. It's like a new lease of life to me.
But I was thinking, John, that part of, you know, building your digital footprint, it's to attract people to you. When people know the kind of projects you like, I mean, certainly for the Wine Rack, you were probably one of a handful of people or developers in this country that could have pulled off this project. Yes. But building that digital footprint, creating content like we're doing today, it's actually much more efficient to attract people to you and to start introducing deals to you than you trying to find them.
Without question, it's so important. And of course, I don't always want to do 19-storey, £27 million developments, Vanessa. Funnily enough, I'm very happy to do a £200,000 project or whatever. So I'm unusual in that respect, because most developers, when they get to a certain size, don't look at any smaller deals. They only look at the same size or bigger deals. Whereas I enjoy doing smaller deals as well as the big deals. And that makes me unique, I think, amongst the more experienced and successful developers.
No, I know. I've seen quite a few of your projects actually in real life, and you know, you'll consider a small development of townhouses. You'll look at listed properties. So you're very much open to anything, aren't you?
Well, I've done it all. You know, and I think when you've done it all and you've got that experience, nothing phases you. And I think that's the key. But everyone needs support and help. And there's nothing wrong with asking for that. And I'm very willing to help and give it.
Yes, no, you absolutely are. So we're going to be running this week with John all this week, a new instalment every morning on propertytribes.com. This instalment was just a general overview, and coming up we're going to be looking at the different avenues, the different channels that John sources deals from, and tomorrow we will be finding out about how John works with estate agents. So do join us for part 2 of Discovering Deals with John Howard tomorrow, and we hope we'll see you there.